Early morning here, headed back to a quick little flight into Managua, where I am going to get my Nicaragua tattoo and tell you a bunch of things I know about Nicaragua. A few things I know about Nicaragua. With a one-night stay in Managua left, I set about getting my Nicaragua tattoo and found Eduardo of El Pereque. And we're back in Managua. He's great with design and execution. Check him out if you're ever in Managua. That's Eduardo, tattooist extraordinaire. El Pereque?
El Pereque, yeah.
Pereque.
I feel
El
tired.
Pereque in Managua. Hit him up. We are starting our last little walk out of Nicaragua to the Managua International Airport. Nicaragua has been really cool. I think we should talk about it. The many pros and a couple little cons about Nicaragua, some tips and tricks. Basically, my usual country exit interview. Nicaragua was a must visit for us, but when I was researching the country, I read a lot about the government corruption problems, the crime, the poverty, its history with kidnappings and questionable things happening to tourists. But it seems like a lot of that has settled down, and I also saw people's posts with them enjoying the hell out of the beautiful looking country. So what I did when I booked Nicaragua is I kind of went for some balance. I kept the trip a little bit shorter, and I kept it to sort of known tourist infrastructure pathways through the country. So in this case, our Nicaragua looked just like León, Grenada, Ometepe, and the Big and Little Corn Islands. So that was a more touristic than usual route for us, but I just wanted to make sure I balanced the concerns I had read about, and as I'll get to later, it seems like I could have been even a little bit more adventuresome. So obviously, because I only visited a few places, it doesn't make sense that I could give you a big full exit interview on what the entire country runs on. I don't know that, but I did catch a lot of info about the places we visited, so I'm going to give a quick exit interview, and you can include your own comments in the comment section if you have any other tips and tricks or things you notice about Nicaragua as well. It's time then to talk about some pros and cons. But as always, please note that the negatives are really just observations based on the time we took the trip, our budget, where we went, and just the sort of luck of the draw days that we had. There's a reality to travel, and that is not always that it's all just picture postcards and wonderful life events. Some of it can be boring, or some of it can be logistically difficult. So these are just little things I noticed like that. First of all, though, the pros. Warm, straightforward, friendly people, and really welcoming neighborhoods. Character-filled streets, unique and beautiful natural settings. Just the country itself has a lot of character. Even the stuff that's a little bit gritty, somehow through the lens of the vibrant culture, is just nice. The lakes, the islands, the volcano, the ocean, all very impressive. The city had a lot of character and a humble, warm, inviting street culture, people hanging outside right on the sidewalk until all hours of the night, just laughing and enjoying life. This was really cool to witness. There's also a great diversity of indigenous, Spanish, island nations, Afro-Caribbean people that are all represented within Nicaragua. The local crops like coffee, fruit, vegetables, corn, it's delicious. It felt actually very generally safe, almost every single place we went. We walked through a diversity of neighborhoods through the best and worst times of the day and didn't ever feel truly threatened for our safety. Even the touts and persistent salespeople were so few, and they weren't particularly aggressively persistent. It was pretty easy to tell people no and have them respect your boundaries and your space. The general state of stays there are tidy, nicely appointed, but overall you get quite a lot of value for what you spend. Our average in stays there was about $35 a night, and this got us right in front of oceans and lakes in cabins and furnished apartments. It was a really nice time, and the stays had a lot of value. Transportation in the country via public buses, shuttles, and ride-hailing services was excellent. Great price, usually someone available to take you almost anywhere, and easy enough to book and find. Let's talk briefly now about some cons that I noticed while we were in Nicaragua. Flights to and from Nicaragua can be quite expensive because there's very little competition and not too many flights. Wherever you can, I would say you should travel by land. I'd say the main sort of theme for negatives that I noticed in Nicaragua is the state of their animals. Nicaragua still uses horses and donkeys for day-to-day labor, and gosh, are they worked to a level of misery, it would seem. Emaciated horses and donkeys, sick and injured dogs, cats, and other animals. It seems like it's not the fault of intentionally cruel Nicaraguans. I think that many people there who were keeping animals really did love their animals. It's just Nicaragua is the most impoverished nation in this region, and I think some of that is being reflected in the care that they can afford their animals. If you're vegan or even you just kind of like animals in other ways, you may find this hard to see here and there. Island travel in the Caribbean and Ometepe can be quite expensive, and suddenly you got to make sure you're buying groceries and eating as local as possible and really digging for those discounts if you want to make this part of your budget travel experience affordable. This was reflected mostly in restaurants. So, rent a place where you have a kitchen, have it be near the municipal market, and load up on the delicious local fruits and veggies and get cooking. Anticipating that vegan protein sources may be a little bit the same or unavailable, we also packed protein supplements so we could just kind of load up on the carbs and the fruit. But it was still quite attainable, and we generally ate quite well. It is impossible to ignore that a large portion of this nation faces an ongoing struggle. The monthly minimum wage here is not more than about $300 Canadian, and yet in many places the cost of living is clearly far past what even the best saver or best planner could afford. The result of this seems to be that it leads to the exploitation of labor within families and the exploitation of workers generally. That further means that you see children working in a lot of situations that seem worthy of criticism, and you see that generally other workers are exploited, forced to work long hours or live on sites away from their families just to survive. And that impoverishment will be evident on day-to-day visits while you're in Nicaragua. So a couple tips and tricks that we found while we were out and about in Nicaragua generally. Money changing was easiest with coyotes. Coyotes are those sort of older, young grandpa-looking guys that usually have a bag or a huge wad of cash. They're sitting outside of busy areas like markets and malls, looking to exchange your US dollar into local Cordobas for what we found was a really good rate. The rate did get worse on Saturday and Sunday, especially Sunday when there were less of them around, so you maybe wouldn't get your full, you'd leave a couple percentage points on the table. But overall, this was more convenient than banks, easier, and quick. Make sure when you're taking US bills for changing anywhere or payment anywhere in Nicaragua that they are crisp. USA currency is widely accepted everywhere in Nicaragua, and they have their own local currency, the Cordoba. Once again, we found the app InDrive helpful for using as a ride-hailing service. This app lets you choose the price, in part, that you want to pay, and lets the drivers and you haggle. The fees are less than Uber, so it's less exploitative, and you can also use it to get yourself a great estimate of what a ride you're trying to take from someone else may cost. That brings me to the reminder I have on every single one of these trips. Where you get out, in the subway station or up on the up on the sidewalk, or where the bus drops you off at a train station, right when you get out and there's that melee of taxi drivers, those are always the most expensive. So do what we do. Walk a few feet, 100 meters max, down the way and orient yourself, and then use your InDrive app to check what the price should be and see if someone will take you for that amount of money. If not, just use your InDrive app anyway. This was much easier. So I don't have a ton of tips and tricks because it was all pretty easy going for us. We didn't encounter anything that needed outsmarting really. It was a very nice place. So if you have any tips and tricks for Nicaragua based on your more extensive travel than our 1 month, by all means, drop them here in the comments and let's make sure everybody knows everything they need to know. I highly recommend folks explore this lush, beautiful country with friendly people, colonial and historical sites in the streets and neighborhoods, and so much more. It really has a lot to offer. This actually brings us to the time where this whole 6-month Central American trip is now almost over. For more on that, we go out live to our field reporter, who is also me, David. Been sitting here for a couple hours now ahead of the flight leaving, and if they page this Omar Alvarez one more time, he's not here, okay? Omar Alvarez, if you're watching this video, you're wanted up there, okay? I say, oh my God, answer your pages. So much legroom in row number 5. Now we are on our way to a final stay in Mexico City ahead of Cancun. Goodbye, Nicaragua. For Vegan Everywhere, sad to be leaving Nicaragua, but excited to one day come back. I'm David. That's another airplane.